in Sweden growing up, and they are absolutely Disney mad in Europe for a start, by the way. The comics are like Disney comics everywhere. The only one conspicuously absent, Donald Duck.
Because he's got no pants.
Because he's got no pants.
He's also got no wiener.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying he's been feeling for a while as well.
See, there you go. It's the pantsless thing. Whereas unless you're watching hentai, all anime characters have pants.
If you've ever seen that real Darwin, you'd understand why they don't draw it, because that is hentai.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, from the anime perspective, like a lot of the sexualization, you know, whilst I'm always amazed that people actually do continue to pick on the fur community, especially within the anime community, considering how sexually deviant a lot of the hentai gets.
Yes, can you say Furutsuki Doji?
Funny story about that. For those that don't know, the title just started out, it's Legend of the Overfiend in English. It is the original schoolgirl tentacle rape anime, which I found in the children's section. Oh, it's a cartoon, it's for children.
Oh, really?
Yep, along with Watership Down.
Yeah. Fritz the Cat. Yeah. Fritz the Cat was in the children's section when I was growing up.
It's a cartoon, it's for kids.
Oh, Fritz, you ain't growing up yet.
Yeah. What do you think got me started?
Don't worry about this R rating on it.
But that is where we share kind of a similar public view. For both the furries and the anime people, to the public at large, it's all cartoons. It must be for kids. It is cartoons, therefore it is for kids. And I think that is one of the things that the furries have always been fighting against, because people say, oh, you're trying to lure children in. And I say, look, if they pay their $35 to go to my con, I'll lure them in, that's fine.
Have a cookie.
Yeah, and give me $35. But then, we also require parental consent. If you're going to go to our con, we have to have a permission form for your parents. Why? Because I'm not a fucking babysitter. Don't drop your kids off with me, okay? So I'll sell them into slavery. And I'll give them a puppy and a glass of espresso.
I'll share the story of worst sort of parental reaction we've had at a con.
Oh my God! Which one?
Like you've had some doozies, you've had some doozies, come on.
Yes.
Adelaide's pretty conservative, considering you had a whore for a mare.
Well, parents are taking their children into the mature rated areas, which are generally 15 plus, and then come out and complain that the children saw this violent thing. It had this big sign on the door that your child could only go in there if you were standing next to them. Parents are just scary.
That's a fairly tame one, actually. How about, let's go for something that's, I know is going to be shocking and offensive to those outside the community. Like what? I don't know, like what? Well, for instance, my particular favorite parental story was basically I had to come over to our registration area because a mother was kicking up a big stink. And I get there, and she's like, they tell me that I have to be with my children. I'm like, well, how old are your children? 12 and 14. Like, well, this is a rather large event, as you can see. We've got approximately 9,000 people here today. And as much as I'd like to say otherwise, we cannot guarantee the safety of your children. Haven't you ever heard of responsibility? Ma'am, that's you.
Well, quite frankly, I've had a lot of situations like that. I've had negative reactions from parents. The worst parental reaction, the one that gives me the biggest nightmares, actually came from my own mother. Now, a tiny white-haired little old lady, looks like me, but and a lady. But at furry conventions, in the art show, we have that section over there. That's the section over there that is we keep separate.
Ours are usually drawn by 14-year-old girls.
You must be over 18 even to put the art in.
Wow.
At Epicon, we call it the Mature Art Gallery. Midwest Fur Fest, our Chicago friends, they call it the Cock Box. That's over there.
That's where archery is applicable.
At Epicon, I found my little white-haired old mother in that. And I was like, ow, you, ow. She said, no, I want to look at the art, leave me alone. Bam! So I was following her around, don't go around the corner. Shit, she went around the corner. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. all the art and everything. And she said, remember I said Big Blue Fox had the second greatest line ever spoken? My mom has the greatest. She was looking at the art, and she said, why do they make the penises so small? I swear to God, that's what she said. I feel it's got to sit down and talk to Dad about the genetics of
That kind of reminds me of a story that we had in our art room back in, I think it was 2005. We had a 14-year-old girl drawing literally all of the smut that was going up into the art competition. This is problematic because she wasn't allowed to look at it.
The same thing with a girl from the Netherlands.
So, no wait, it gets worse. The compromise that the executive people in their wisdom came up with before I was in charge was that she could continue to draw so long as she was blindfolded. It gets worse. She had her own ball gag in her bag, which she also put on after they applied a blindfold. Sailor Tentacle and Deviant Art, if anyone wants to see it.
A young girl called Zelda Wright. She drew, now she's from Amsterdam. I mean, children are raised on smut in Amsterdam. They call smut in the tea bottles. She drew some stuff that would curl your toes, and it was very, outstanding art. She was very talented, but because of German law, they could let her put her art into the art show, but they could not let her into the art show to see her art. I introduced the Germans to something the Americans been using for a number of years, the Post-it note. We just ran around the art show and slapped Post-it notes on all the peepees and the nipples everywhere, so then she could go in and look at her own art. I love them all. I said, yeah, I'm talking about your comment. That too. The chairman of Eurofurry, greatest name in furry fandom, Sven Take It Off. That's his name. Am I lying?
No,
that's his name. Sven Take It Off. What better name for the chairman of a furry company?
It's like Karen moaning. She writes about vampire porn. So what's the most pornographic story to come out of AdCon that Mitchell hasn't told me?
Other than 14-year-old girls dry humping Mitchell on stage?
Now, just for those who don't go to anime conventions, as we mentioned, AdCon in Adelaide, and Mitchell, who no longer runs it, has become the de facto mascot because he's a very, very animated character. He's basically been the public face of AdCon for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah.
How old is he?
30.
He's a kid.
Well, he's still in uni, so...
Yeah. And 14-year-olds dry humping him on stage.
Yes, that's always...
And you wonder why the police came to your Lolita parade.
Yeah. It's a worry when, as the people who are over 18 and the people who are in charge of things, we just go, oh God, my hands are here. I'm not touching anything. And you have this 14 or 13-year-old girl rubbing their boobs in your face or trying to grope yours.
And they call the furries.
We have a very small subset of attendees at conventions that, I don't know what other people call them, but I personally have dubbed them the tackle groupers.
Oh, God.
They're usually underage as well.
Yeah.
I can proudly say we don't have that. If somebody does that at one of the furry cons, they do it once and then they're never seen again.
Yeah, it's really awkward when they're the underages, so we're supposed to have this obligation to keep them safe and look out for them, and they're the ones causing all the trouble.
What's even worse is that if they manage to get away after that incident, we can't really recognize them that easily because they're wearing a radio headband and they all look the same.
Paintball gun.